that I've been talking with some of the scholars of the Ayn Rand Institute about different subjects, and there is one thing that intrigues me about free will, and of course, the new research on neuroscience and biology, and this debate on how free are we really, if we are, and also evolutionary psychology, because Ayn Rand always said objectivism is all about observing reality as it is, and instead of denying it, accept it and try to make your life in a very coherent way according to what reality shows you.
Sure.
So if reality and these new scientific findings are showing us, something different, how can objectivism apply these new findings or reject them? And I want to start with an exercise.
Well, maybe I can say something generally about it, and then we'll get into some of the particulars. Absolutely. So scientific knowledge is important, and we have to be able to evaluate it and see whether our ideas hold up in the face of new knowledge. But this is the challenge, particularly in the world we live in today, which I think not only is corrupt in its politics, and we share our understanding of the corruption in politics, but is also corrupt, I think, in its philosophy, and I think that affects a lot of the science. I think one has to be wary of definitive statements in the sciences today, particularly in young sciences, in new sciences. If you look at neurobiology, which is a fascinating field, and there's a lot of new information in new science there, it's not the science I'm worried about, it's the way they interpret it.
Right.
And the interpretation is more philosophy than it is actually science. And I am suspicious of a lot of the so-called conclusions that the philosophers of science and scientists and social thinkers are coming to based on the neurobiological evidence. And certainly that is the case, I think, with evolutionary psychology. Evolutionary psychology is very philosophical in the sense that it's dealing with philosophical concepts. It's assuming that we evolved ideas, we evolved inclinations, we evolved all kinds of things that I don't think the scientists are very clear on. For example, what is the difference between an idea, an emotion, an inclination, temperament, and all these other things that describe, human behavior in one way or the other? Can they clearly define all those things? Can they then distinctly say this is genetic and this is not?
Exactly.
And none of them even make the attempt. So when I read it, I go, they're not even trying to distinguish these different features. They assume ideas are just like emotions, are just like inclinations, and just like temperament. And that is clearly not true. Ideas are not something we're born with. Ideas are something you have to use your reason in order to create. When you're a baby, you don't know what a chair is. You have to create, in a sense, you have to integrate to bring about the concept of chair, right? That is something that's an achievement, right? It's something that you have to actually make an effort to do, and the more abstract concepts, the effort is greater. So this idea that you can evolve concepts is just wrong. Now, where is the evolution? Our emotions, as I think I understand it, and I think a lot of psychology understands it, are responses, automatic responses to conclusions and thinking that we have done in the past. Well, again, thinking is not evolved, so our emotions evolved. I doubt it. I don't think they are. So then we're left with inclinations and temperament. Okay, I'm willing to accept that there's some interesting science about these things. But if it's really just that, then it's a lot less than what is being claimed today by these scientists. So I'm wary. I don't think they have a clear understanding of what it is they're even dealing with. It's a very young science.
Yeah.
And I think in 50 years we'll have a much better understanding of these things. So let's not take what's written in popular books about this and say it's definitive, given how weak I think their analysis is, their philosophical analysis is, and then how young the science actually is. So I think, let's gain the knowledge, but let's be careful about how we interpret it. And for example, on the issue of free will, and I know you've talked to others about free will. Free will is directly observable. When I look at this and I see a glass of water, it's irrelevant in a sense what science says. Right?
Yep.
This is a glass, and it's, maybe it's not water, and the science tells me it's poison or something. But my senses observe something. That is the reality. And the science explains it. The science can explain, it's made of molecules, and it has this shape because of the way it was formed. The same with free will. Free will is directly observable. Science cannot disprove that it exists. It can one day maybe explain it, but it cannot disprove it.